that is about what we can do, and that's about what we have done. And there's a newsletter put out, I think every 3 months, that also tracks, and it's sent to every household in Alston. It also tracks the progress of, it'll be tier 2 now, and where we are and what we're doing. So that's sent to your home.
You said there's a newsletter that's sent out?
That's to your home, yes.
And what's the name of the newsletter?
It's coming out from the EPA.
Okay, so but there has been one that supposedly already came out.
It does.
Oh, certainly.
It does.
Huh?
No, it's just confirming what you said, agreeing with you.
I saw.
Let's be clear. EPA sends a newsletter periodically to this community.
Okay.
Maybe every 3 months, some of them.
We'll show you one. You have a copy of one with the
No, it's orange or-
Yeah, I think
That's one right there.
Yeah.
That's the last one, fact sheet.
After hearing about all this
It's like this fold down.
Now I did have my hand.
representing us with
I
them
did.
up there.
I did have my hand in the back. I'll come back to you when it's finished.
That's August 2010. That's the last time the flyer went up?
You know, that's just one that's on the board to show you what it looks
I
like.
thought it was a current.
No, that's not a current flyer. It was just to show you what you look for in your mail.
How many people representing us that would live in this community knowing what we going through? Zero. That's what I know.
Okay, I think, but the question he's really trying to ask is why would the industry, LEJCOC, and those? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought he was at the floor. I'm sorry.
I have a few things in the tier 1 report. Address 3 things real quick. Can you speak up, please? First of all, I want to say that y'all are sworn employees of the state of Louisiana. And y'all are sworn to protect us. And if you can't do it, you shouldn't be. That's how I feel about that. For 39 years, the answer I've been getting is we can't hold these companies accountable because it's going to cost too many jobs. That's not part of this equation as far as I'm concerned. It's all about protection of this community and people. This is the lady gave me this before the meeting. It says that they will grant a permit to discharge treated wastewater to Devil Swamp Lake through the National Pollution Discharge and Elimination System. And DEQ was involved in that, had a big part to play in that. Probably was the main reason they got it because this is federal. So I would like to know, I would like to see a copy of the permit. And I would like to know how they can give a permit to a private company to discharge wastewater onto a private neighbor. That's like you having permission to dump stuff on his property. I can't follow that right now. I don't see how they did that. So I would like a copy of the permit from the bottom to the top. I want to see where that leads. The second question is, the Corps of Engineers came back on our property, and I think in around 1973, without our permission, they dug 600,000 yards of dirt off of our property. We didn't even know about it. And they built that levee around, that's where the lake came from, the Corps of Engineers ears. They built that lake with that dirt. Now, if that dirt was in that lake before they built that levee, that means all of that poison is in that levee. So I would like to see what kind of feasibility study they did before they did that project. Now that you can find. Those two questions are concrete answers. Have concrete answers. The next question I have is about this Tier 1 study that they did in its final. And on here, it has these little red dots where they measure for PCBs. Now we all know we're all from Louisiana, and there's no levee back there. So every time the river floods, at least twice a year, we've had some huge floods since 1973. Every time it floods, it brings silt all the way up north down to Devil Swamp. And every year it deposits anywhere from 1 to 4 inches of silt, sometimes more. Now this study says, let's just say 2 inches. 2 inches times 30, they stopped at 93. 2 inches times 20 years is 60 inches. That's 5 feet deep.
Right.
5 feet deep is silt. Every 700 feet, they took a sample this deep. Something I don't understand why they would go 6 inches deep when we know it's at least 5 feet deep down. Now, my uncle hired a company to come in and bore the Petro site. They found it 40 feet deep. And that's all in core documents. So for them to go 6 inches, I have problems with that. And only check every 7. So from here to the road, they took 2 samples this deep. And that was their test. I have concerns about that. So the next study, the work study, comes out on the 25th. And it's going to be what they're going to do on the Tier 2. And if they're only going to go 6 inches deep, then you figure it out. We all have a little common sense. And that's all I have.
I think the Tier 2 is not going to do any sediment studies. It's just going to be on the fish station.
Well,
Yeah, and I would say the Tier 1, we collected sediment deeper than 6 inches. The top 6 inches was analyzed separately because that's regarded as the most bioavailable.
it says PCB is 6 inches.
That was certainly, they did take 6-inch samples, they took below 6 inch. Now certainly no 6 foot deep sample.
Right, the deepest sample is 18 inches.
Right, that's correct.
We all know crawfish can bore 6 feet.
We're about to sample the crawfish during the Tier 2 to determine if they're getting exposed to PCB. We're going to measure the level in crawfish.
Well, I still have problems with the first set of results.
I can't help you there. The EPA has accepted that report. We had a chance to review and comment on it. We reviewed and commented on the work plan. The time for that particular study has passed. We're now to the Tier 2 where we're looking at the fish and crawfish to determine if there is a risk. I mean, you know, I wish I could help you there, but EPA has accepted that report.
If that report has been accepted, is it anything that we can do? And I guess at this point, we would like to know if it's any way we can partnership with, and I want to get back to the partnership, because we need to establish that tonight, or that we can, or that there is a possibility of establishing a partnership with maybe the law clinic and DHH and CDC and other environmental agencies who have an interest in making Louisiana safe, and specifically our community also. So I'm asking that question, not but to anybody who could be a partner. We'd like for you to just say, yes, we'd be a partner with y'all at this time.
Certainly, it's been mine.
You don't have to turn it off. I'm waiting for a
No, that's just the
response
concern.
from some of these people here.
Well,
As to whether or not we can form this partnership at this point. Because I believe in order for, and of course, Mr. Schuler will be a part of that partnership as well. But what I'm hearing from this community tonight is there are some things that we need to know. We need to know what is our health is. We don't have nobody here tonight to tell us that. So we need to form a partnership with the Department of Health and Hospitals. So we'll be able to at least know the risk in terms of our health. You all have been studying this since when?
Me since last
Not
January.
you, not you. You look like you're young, but you look like you've been around a while.
I haven't been working on this particular project.
Okay, so nobody from LGQ
Can be a
Well,
part
what
of
I can tell you is that it'll be my job to work with EPA, who is the lead agency, on the Devil Swamp site to solve that problem. And I can promise you that. That's my role, to work on the Devil Swamp.
You are unable, he just say, mentioned some material that he is dissatisfied with, which you saying LGQ has sent it to EPA, and EPA has approved it, so.
We can provide our comments to EPA within a certain time period, and we have done so on the report that he's discussing. That occurred last year.
Well, apparently
And
some
at that,
information
there
been
are-
left out. Were you
know,
aware that y'all was doing this on private property?
Oh yeah, we had access agreements to all the property. I say we, I mean the PRPs had access agreements.
Now, he is,
said it was
a
not.
huh?
He said there was no,
Didn't you say it was no permission issued? In 73?
He can't
I
tell you
was-
about 73 because he wasn't there in 73.
Oh,
And that's
okay.
my point.
I was 7 years old now.
Well, I wasn't 7. I wasn't 7.
But it ought to be at
73.
I was technical, we can find, we should, that, information was, put on save, huh, it was not.
If you're talking about the permit information, it's in DEQ's files. It is available to anyone that has internet access to the EMS system. Yeah.
I want to know from DEQ, is it possible that you can call EPA and ask, because we are a grassroots organization, and you have other organizations here tonight. You have the Louisiana Bucket Brigade, you have Tulane, you have others that can come in like the Center for Disease can come in and work with the community here to help the technical assistant person. How long would it take you to call EPA and say?
Actually, you can call EPA right now.
Oh,
The
yeah.
gentleman's number is in the back of that second page of the letter to the community.
I'm
You
familiar
can
with it.
call them at any time.
So
Don't need me to
if
call.
I say I want to help Allison community and get the Center for Disease in here and Tulane and the Bucket Brigade to come in and work with the community along with the technical assistance people. Do I have to get permission from you to do that or from the Allison community?
Yeah.
Well, as of tonight, I want to help the community. And I want to call CDC and set up a meeting and bring in the health professionals, the universities.
That's entirely up to y'all. I'm here to represent DEQ and clean up this site. That's
Okay,
my
so
role.
we're gonna work with
It's
you as
limited.
a partner and working to clean up Allison.
Well, I think we all would work as partners to EPA. This is their lead.
No problem,
Sure.
as long as I know the question is getting EPA to know that you're gonna have, with the Bucket Brigade, you can speak for yourself, but Tulane, you can speak for yourself.
he got his hand up too.
Oh, yeah, Tulane.
Yeah, well, couple questions. So Dan, so you're technical advisory, and are you, is part of what you do you assess, for example, will you make an independent assessment of the Tier 2 work plan to help the community comment?
Yeah, I
So
mean, that's what we're here to start talking about from the draft standpoint.
Okay.
Here's,
Well, let me ask a couple short questions, but then I don't want to cut you off. But so you'll make an independent assessment of how good the work plan is, and also I think it's very important that people in the community know when all the comments deadlines are, when comments are due. You know,
Right.
that there are certain dates that, like the tier 1, you're talking about the plans, the comment deadline is gone, the plan's been accepted. You really need to focus on when those comments are due, and plan for getting the comments done. You know, so make sure you've got Dan's point of view of how good the plan is. If you can show it to other people, you know, if you can get our attention, if you get the bucket brigade's attention, so you can get input for those comments, and make sure you get those comments in by the deadline. Because if the deadline goes by and you haven't commented,
Yeah, except anything.
you know, you're going to hear that it's too late, most likely. So, but I'm sorry, you.
No, yeah. What I wanted to say is my role is I'm walking a tight wire. I'm on a tight fence. I'm working to review DEQ, EPA's documents, but at the same time, I'm working for the community to take that information and disseminate it into layman's type terms so they can understand what the history is, what they've been exposed. We've got 51 years worth of exposure from that, from the area, from Devil Swamp, petrol processing, all those things. And we're to this point right now where we're finally getting these documents, these final documents in place, so we can really determine what is the impact on the community side of it. But we can't, you know, and so this is really the second time we've gotten to this point here, and I'm very encouraged and excited. I also sense the frustration with everyone, again, from the standpoint, as I mentioned, at least when you start looking at historical, when the people live, you know, when they're nothing but, you know, agriculture and trees and stuff like that, then industry moved in and started discharging their effluents and things like that in the 60s and stuff. And what's transpired from there to today. And again, without the technical grant and without the assistance of the EPA getting these, issuing the unilateral administrative order and getting the PRPs in place to address the issues, it's taken a long time, but we're making progress.
Yeah, I guess what I want to stress is there's two kind of parts to, I think, your role, equally valuable, right? One of which is explaining to people in the community what's going on to the best you can. Here's what the documents are, here's what the government's saying. But the other part is assessing it. Is that really a good plan? And, you know, in some ways that's harder, right? And you know, should you really be satisfied with this? What kind of things should your comments say? Because, you know, the more technical insight we can get into, are they digging deep enough? Are those enough crawfish? You know, that sample big enough to really give you a good idea? Is the sample over enough of a time period to give you a good idea of what, you know, what the crawfish in general are exposed to? And actually, one thing, and correct me if I've got this wrong, one thing I just want to point out to people in the community, I think when you talk about risk assessment for this, the Devil Swamp, is it Devil Swamp? For the Devil Swamp site, you're probably talking about a pretty narrow risk assessment, right? And that is the risk from that swamp.
Right.
So they're not telling you the risk, well, you know, for good reasons, but nonetheless, you're not understanding the risk from that swamp, plus from the, you know, from the chemical plant, plus from the landfill, right? And ultimately, all those things, excuse me, contribute to the risk you live with day to day, right? But so that's something to bear in mind. You know, you can get a additional 1 in a million or 2 in a million risk here, and one over there, and one over there, and one over there, and after a while, you're talking about a, you know, a real risk. So,
and they keep coming up with the fish and crawfish. What they gotta do is put fish out there and Devil Swamp for them to do something.
Well, that's what he's saying.
But that's what he's saying, that's what he's explaining there.
but you also have to know, yeah, I mean, on one hand, that's frustrating, and it's frustrating for good reasons. And I think it's important to be here, to, you know, and to express yourself about that. But you also have to realize that you want to get what you can out of all of these processes. And that's how the government addresses these things, kind of like one little piece at a time, to a certain extent in isolation, that's frustrating, but we don't want it to freeze us up. You know, you need to participate and push the process forward and get what you can out of it. And then, you know, keep looking for opportunities to address the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Anybody else got any comments?
So just to tag on to what Adam is saying. So I'm Anna, I'm with the Louisiana Bucket Brigade. Miss Rosemary asked us to be here today and we're very happy to be here. I just want to caution people about health studies in general, to be careful what you wish for, particularly with health studies from the government. Now, in my experience, I have seen two things happen. One where ATSDR, which is the National Agency for Toxic Substances and Disease, has relied on DEQ samples to do a health consultation. Of course, DEQ samples did not find anything, therefore there was no problem. That's my first experience. The second experience where we had lots of bucket samples, this was in Chalmette. And ATSDR, the National Agency for Toxic Substances and Disease, told us that they would use 12 bucket samples from Chalmette in their assessment of the community. They later turned around at the last minute, threw the bucket samples out after we had taken a lot of time and money to take those samples and use DEQ's information. And then again, found no problem. So be very, very careful when you're asking for a health study. The third thing I want to caution you about is that cancer studies in Louisiana have never studied at the neighborhood level. They have only studied at the parish level. So that averages out communities who live closer to hazardous industry.
That still don't sound good. That still don't sound good.
Right. So what I don't think you've lost all hope. You can work with what I would say is academic institutions that you trust. And let me caution you again, in Louisiana, many of the academic universities are funded by who? Industry. Like who? That's right. Okay, so they are much less likely to give you a result that shows that the industry that funded that group is at fault.
Look like we're going to have to try to go to Washington, D.C. then.
So, but you can find friends, you can find professors. There are good professors out there that will do this. But I want to make sure that you take the time to design that health study together, so that you don't allow them to do things like that. Because the worst thing that could happen is that you go through all the time and money and do a health study and they find no problem. That would be the worst thing to happen.
Well, that's why the study that I participated, it was a community study, but it was with the academician. It was with LSU, with Southern, and so they did, like I said, they worked backwards. And I mean, they went against the Louisiana Chemical Association to do that. But, these people are still around. So, like you said, make friends with Dr. Elmer Thornton with the Center for Social Research. And that's where you get started. You have to make this not an Alton problem, but a community problem. And that's why I stress, you have a small grassroots, and that's why I say American Cancer Society together that group. Because y'all need a lot of people to help you all. So it's not an Alton problem. Because we say that, we hear that it's one Baton Rouge. Well, how could everybody prosper but Alton? And so it really cannot be a Alton issue.
Well, that means we're supposed to have Glen Oaks, Scotlandville, and all them communities supposed to be in the mix too.
Everybody has to be offended by
It
it.
ain't just an Alton problem.
Let us leave tonight with a hope. Let us leave this meeting tonight with a hope. We will not leave here without faith, and we will not leave here without hope. And this is what I'm going to ask of this group. If there are people in here who would not mind volunteering their time, who would give us their time in terms of helping us to pull together the resources that we need for this community to fight on. Would you stand now and give us your name? Because we can do this all night.
Can I say something?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. As you all know, I'm a candidate for an elected position. So from now to November, I want to get elected so that I can be in a better position to do. I can connect you with everybody, and I can attend meetings, and I can make sure that it's going in a certain way. But of course, I can't have a leadership position and then trying to run for metro.
Right now, we're just trying to put together a committee of resources that we can, okay, your name, just give me your name.
Albert Hayes,
Have my name on that card.
LEJCOC.
Oh, they want to do like my name down. We have a odd spelling.
Ms. Claiborne, while you're doing that, can I just say something?
I just would like to finish this and then whatever we need to do. Because I don't think we can continue to move forward until we get this done. So,
I
okay.
mean, the Tulane Environmental Law Clinic is available generally as a resource. So happy to talk to you. Give me my card. We are most useful and available during the semesters when we have students to assign things.
Anybody else?
Ms. Claiborne, I will.
Well, you want a card? I don't have enough for everybody, but I got one for you.
The thing is, we gotta, excuse me, let us get this done. And then whatever anybody wanna do, you can do that. But I do not wanna leave this meeting without a hope and some faith. So I got 4 names. Anybody else? Okay, anybody else? Okay, I've got 6 names. Anybody else? Anybody else? Like you were giving us that.